What do you got?
I think I can prove to a judge that both of these men had the mens rea.
What the hell is the mens rea?
It's a legal term the lawyers use. It just means the intention to commit a crime.
Okay, come on, let's go.
Mens rea?
Put the cuffs on him.
How could we have gotten mens rea? We take blood? Can you do it without taking blood? We both use condoms. How is this possible? I want to see a doctor. Can I have an independent blood test?
Money!
I feel sick.
What are you doing?
Mens rea! Oh! Oh! My God!
Hey, everybody. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening. How are... Wow, StreamYard is lagging for me a bit here tonight. That was odd. Anyway, hi, everybody. Welcome. I think it just doesn't like the fact we have a million windows open because we got a lot of stuff to get to today. How are we all doing? What we got going today is we have a news update. It's just a big, sweeping, broad review of 10 major cases that are open at the moment. Where are they? What's going on? And that's what we're going to be looking at today. And we have a deadline here. We're going to be starting the Travis Rudolph trial, day 3, in 50 minutes from now. So we need to get through this as quickly as possible. But the first thing we got to do yesterday, when we had Law and Lumber Rob on, we did a Negroni. Today's cocktail is a Boulevardier. It's essentially the same thing as a Negroni, but it involves bourbon. You want to take a good 2 ounces of bourbon, a decent bourbon. Larceny was one I had open. Pour that into a mixing glass. Then you want to get another ounce of Campari. You need some good Campari there. Campari makes everything nice and a little bit bitter, a little bit dry. Drop in an ounce of that. And then you want your red sweet vermouth. And again, I use the Vermouth di Torino. What an amazingly delicious vermouth this is. Drop in 1 ounce of that. And then in your mixing glass, you want to just mix that up a little bit here. Just kind of get it cold, slightly dilute it. Get it nice and chilled. And you can either pour it over ice or just pour it directly into a cocktail glass. For this one, I don't like to use ice. I just like to let it chill in the mixing glass and then pour it off into the cocktail glass. As always, I made mine a double because that's how Legal Vices rolls. Boom, you have this beautiful, beautiful color. And then for your garnish, you can use some lemon wedges, or I again, use 2 halves of a dried orange wheel. Just drop those in there and let it sit for a bit, and then it'll just make an amazing, amazing cocktail. This is your Boulevardier, today's cocktail. Cheers. All right. With today's cocktail out of the way, that means we got to jump right into this news. Let me put the cap back on all these bottles here. And then pick up the cup I just dropped. Hey, come back here. Hello, had to get that before the dogs ate it. All right. So again, this is just kind of a very, very quick review of things. We're going to go through these news stories as quickly as possible. Hopefully we'll get through them all. And then we'll start with the Travis Rudolph case, day 3. Whew. All right. We have, before we get going though, intellectual iconoclasm says, howdy, ladies and gents, and the bulk of the rest of us. Yes, ladies, gentlemen, and all of you other degenerates here that don't fit in either one of those categories. What? Well, we've got a great thing. Gosh, how would you? That's a good question. We should talk about that one day. What is Campari? It's a bitter liqueur. Well, that's kind of what it is. It's an Italian liquor. It's sort of an aperitif. Yeah, I mean, you can drink it straight, but it is actually quite bitter. But it's used in cocktails like I said, Negronis, Boulevardiers, and whatnot. That's the short answer. But you should always have that in your bar if you have that. All right, we don't want to go too far down the cocktail trail. Let's call it the cocktail trail. That sounds good. All right, our first case, and what I'm going to do is again just go through these one at a time. Take a little break after each one of them, and hopefully get through them all the way to the end because there's a lot to get through. And instead of saying how several times that there's a lot to get through, let's just start getting through it. Our first case, this lovely woman, Courtney Clenney, the OnlyFans murder defendant, charged with murdering her boyfriend here. And I hate the New York Post, the way that stupid thing drops down. But what's been going on with her? She was supposed to have gone to trial before, but it's been postponed, it's been delayed, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Let's get up here to the story. The lawyers for OnlyFans model Courtney Clenney, who allegedly killed her boyfriend. There is no allegedly about it. I hate when they write articles like this. No, she did kill her boyfriend. She's arguing self-defense. During a blow-up in their luxury Miami apartment, have claimed that they have new evidence that she acted in self-defense. Okay, we're going to be talking about their evidence, and I don't think it's as strong as they think it is, but let's find out. Clenney, 26, is charged with second-degree murder in the April 3rd, 2022 death of her beau. Oh, it's a beau. She's gone a-courting. Christian Obumseli, 28, who she has claimed was attacking her before she plunged a knife into his chest. Of course, her story is she threw this knife javelin style from about 10 feet away, which caused it to sink a couple of inches into his chest and kill him. Her attorneys, Sabrina Puglisi and Frank Prieto, claim that they will use new evidence at trial to prove the social media starlet was a victim of abuse and acted in self-defense. The first is in Las Vegas in 2021, where she actually called security, and the interview of the security officer by police, Puglisi told Law and Crime. Well, see, again, I don't think you can use a 2021 police report from Las Vegas to claim self-defense, an imminent threat of death or grievous bodily harm in Florida in 2022. And you can see it in the body camera of the police officer. He says he overheard her saying, "Get your hands off me," when they got up to the room. Clumps of her hair were on the ground, she said. All right, well, that's Vegas the year before this happened. The lawyer for OnlyFans model Courtney Clenney said they have evidence to show that she acted in self-defense when she allegedly stabbed her boyfriend to death. This is there in happier times, and I guarantee you, if you've been watching this, if you've seen some of the pre-trial, she don't look like that anymore. Pareto also noted the amount of time it took police to arrest his client after the cryptocurrency trader's bloody death. I think the fact that the detective in this matter did not arrest her for 4 months while they investigated the case is very telling, he told the news outlet. It could be telling of the fact that she was apparently somewhere else in a rehab clinic for 4 months, or it could be that they are just taking their time and make sure they're getting it right. The fact it took them 4 months to charge her, I don't think really means anything one way or the other about her guilt or innocence. Footage taken from the couple's condo complex elevator shows previous domestic disputes in which Clenney seemed to be acting as an aggressor and striking him. What the media has portrayed is a snapshot in time, Puglisi told Law and Crime. If you actually look at the first few seconds of that video, which is cut off in most news cycles, what you will see is actually she does not want him to come into the elevator or to go upstairs. There's only a key fob. There's only one key fob in order to be able to get up to his apartment, she added. Here is her covered with blood and sweating as the police come in. Body camera video. Okay, we're going to see some YouTube. This is not blood. This is just like ketchup and grape jelly spilled on the floor. It's not blood, because I know you don't like that. Body camera video shows social media Courtney Clenney making a plea for help days before authorities said that she stabbed her boyfriend to death, and her attorney said the footage shows she was the victim in the relationship. Well, and see, this is some of the crime scene photos, and I just want to say one thing without looking at all the blood that is currently below the camera, the scrolling window here. This is a filthy apartment. This is what your OnlyFans model and currency day trader guy looks like. This is their ratty, grubby apartment. So when next time you're watching your OnlyFans chicks do their hot stuff, just remember this is probably what the next room looks like. They probably just live like animals. Yeah, we scroll through here. This is her in the police station on her way, either in or on her way to the police station. That is also more grape jelly. Clenney, who has made over $3 million from the adult site since 2020 and boasts more than 2 million Instagram followers, was recorded threatening Obumseli's life just 1 month before the stabbing. Yeah, if you've heard some of these audio tapes, yeah, not really in her favor. In December, Clenney broke down in tears as detective informed her of Obumseli's death. she's getting charged with murder. That's why. Her lawyers have pointed out that she had asked for a restraining order against Obumseli days before the fatal fight, and a security guard in her building told cops he once saw him rush at her. Yeah, this thing for a restraining order. She said, "I want to get a restraining order again." This is all on video, by the way. "I want to get a restraining order. How do I get a restraining order against him now before he gets one against me? Because I know he'll do it first." To paraphrase her, she wanted to get the restraining order against him before he got to the court to get a restraining order against her, and the cops just said, "Figure it out." So last week, Obumseli's cousin and legal team told reporters there were 6 calls related to disturbances involving the couple between January and March 2022. That's an average of 2 calls to the cops every month. Maybe a red flag. People called 911 to report violence and threats, according to lawyers who claim Clenney was the one at fault. Yeah, she does not look like this anymore, peeps. The forensic evidence is clear that Christian was not an aggressor in any way, and that there's one aggressor in this case. Obumseli's family attorney Michael Haggard said, according to the outlet, "I don't know, it kind of looks like there was a little give and take there to me, but what do I know? I don't have all the evidence." The late boyfriend's cousin, Karen Egbuna, said, "We've lost so much, just beyond Toby. My aunt has never been the same. She's marked with the sadness and anger and grief that will likely never go away." Now, last month, Obumseli's family filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Clenney to cover funeral costs and other expenses as a result of his death. Also named in the suit, which alleges negligence, are the Homeowners Association, the company that manages the condo complex, and its security company. Her lawyers have described the legal action as a money grab. Pareto said the civil suit will likely not proceed until the criminal case is ended. And here's the update on the timeline. Clenney, who has pleaded not guilty, remains jailed without bond, awaiting a trial with status conference set for July. That's the next time that we're going to be hearing from her, is in July when she goes to court. So that's the update on the Courtney Clenney case. Her lawyers are saying there's some new evidence that's going to prove she acted in self-defense, and the deceased Obumseli's family has filed a civil lawsuit, a wrongful death lawsuit against her. We'll have more on that in July. Whew. All right, Flux has joined us with a super chat. Mogaddick Poon, XOXO, fully adjustable, blow for freedom. What does shit mean? And as always, pants or prison. I'm alive today. Screw summer colds. We're glad you're feeling better, Flux. And the lonely Kakapo, thank you all the way from New Zealand with the New Zealand dollars, the Kiwi bucks. What should business? What should business? What should business? Oh, we need to get someone to actually redo the Daryl Brooks song for Taylor Should Business. What should business? Well, Taylor Should Business is our next story, by the way. Wow. Whew. 20 minutes and 30. Well, we got 40 minutes to go. We're gonna do our dang best. All right. With that out of the way, let's power on into Taylor Should Business. All right. There we go. This lovely woman is Taylor Should Business. If you don't know Taylor Should Business, she's been charged with some pretty serious crimes that we're going to get into in a moment. Who is she? What is she doing? And what is the current status of her case? Actually, there is a trial starting in about, a hearing starting in about an hour from now, or maybe 10 minutes from now, depending on which information I have. But we'll talk about that very quickly at the very end. But this is Taylor Should Business. She is in trouble. How much trouble is she in? Well, here's her. I don't know if we can see this very well. She is charged with some pretty bad stuff. Her charges are first-degree intentional homicide, mutilating a corpse, and third-degree SA of the corpse. Yeah, this is the order that these charges occurred in. Her and her boyfriend got into some kinky stuff. She decided that, and they were high on this weird cocktail of drugs. She choked him out. She said, "Oh, it was so good. I just wanted to see what it felt like. If you ever loved someone enough, you wanted to kill it. I gotten this far. I decided to keep going." Anyway, she ends up murdering him. Then she proceeds to chop him up into bits and pieces. This is all in his parents' basement. And while she's doing that, she decides to take a few hours and pleasure herself with his corpse. And then after chopping him up, again, using bits and pieces of him to pleasure her again. Then she decides it's time to go home. She scatters some body parts here and there, some in the house, some in her friend's car. There's like a leg and a bit and stuff in her friend's car. She leaves his head in a bucket at the bottom of the stairs, which his mother finds and calls the police. Horrific case. Horrible case. The trial for that has been set for, if you can see down here on the docket, July 21st is jury selection. And then the trial is set for a 1-week trial so far, 5-day trial. We don't know if that's going to extend or not, but right now on the docket is for the 24th through the 28th in Judge Thomas J. Walsh's courtroom in Wisconsin. And Taylor Schabusiness is in a bad way. Just as a quick little insight into Ms. Shabiz. After delays caused by a change in defense counsel, remember back in February, I believe it was, she sort of kind of tried to fake or pretend to attack her lawyer. He quit. They got a new lawyer. This judge has been pushing for this thing to go through. He's not delaying this trial anymore. She's been ruled competent to stand trial. She's been evaluated 4 times, I believe. And Taylor Schabusiness, 25 of Green Bay, is scheduled to go on trial July 24th in the February 23, 2022 killing of Shad Therian, 24. She's charged with first-degree intentional homicide, mutilating corpse, and third-degree SA. In Brown County Circuit Court on Friday, Matthew Seipel, a Milwaukee-based psychologist who evaluated Schabusiness for more than an hour in November and found her fit to stand trial, said he had not been asked to do further evaluation of her. And as they go on down here, Froelich also said it was an original evaluation was stale because it didn't take into account the serious emotional outburst Schabusiness had February 14th, when she attacked then defense attorney Quinn Jolly in the courtroom before a sheriff's deputy tackled her and pinned her to the ground. The attack prompted Jolly to withdraw from the case, leading to the hiring of Froelich. 3 deputies were stationed in the courtroom. Yeah, it wasn't really that big of a threat. Walsh denied a request for a second evaluation. It is the view of the court that I'm not going to order another evaluation. I found the defendant competent, and I'm going to schedule a trial date. So there we go. Boom. July 21st for jury selection. July 24th, we're going to have opening statements. 2 sides have until May 24th, which is already passed, to file further motions in this case. Further motions have been filed. And that's what we're going to jump into right now, is looking at this other motion. What is this motion that has been filed, you may ask? The attorney for murder suspect Taylor Schabusiness asked for the case to be dismissed. She wants him dismissed. Specifically, I believe they want the third degree. Yeah, it's Taylor Schabusiness, 25, is charged with first-degree intentional homicide, mutilating a corpse, and third-degree SA for allegedly attacking Shad Therian. She has pleaded not guilty and not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect. That's not guilty by reason of insanity in Wisconsin. The rationale for this motion has not been made public, at least for now. In a motion filed Wednesday, this was a couple of Wednesdays ago, defense attorney Christopher Froelich asked for the SA charge to be dismissed, as well as filing a motion to dismiss a defective complaint. Fox 11's attempts to obtain a copy of the motion have been rejected as the items were under seal, meaning they've been sealed and they're not shared with the public. Of course, the lawyers aren't going to comment on either of these things, and the district attorney said, we anticipate filing a written response to the defendant's motion, and we believe the motion is without merit. Yeah, almost never granted. And that's what the hearing is scheduled for today. It's starting in just a few minutes, if I remember correctly. No, I think it's an hour from now. Yeah, an hour and 5 minutes it's set. But this is just a hearing on the issue of whether or not to unseal the grounds for the motion to dismiss the SA charges. More likely than not, I mean, I have no idea. I have no idea what the great basis for this motion to dismiss the charges, but I would not be too terribly surprised. And I'm curious to see what it is. I wouldn't be surprised if it was saying he was dead. How can you essay a dead person? And make some arguments along those things. I don't know. I don't know. They were saying that the prosecution, they have mentioned that the motion should be dismissed because it wasn't filed in a timely manner. They filed it too late in the proceedings, and they want it. I don't know who wants it under seal, but we'll find out by probably the end of today whether or not it's going to remain sealed. So that's our current status of the Taylor Schabusiness case. Hearing today to see whether or not the motion to dismiss the SA charges will be unsealed or not. The trial scheduled July 21st, jury selection, July 24th, opening statements are scheduled to begin. Stand by for more Taylor Schabusiness. Oh, let's go. Brandon says, I have very pressing question. Where is the dog cam? Is it cumulative between the two streams? No, not cumulative between the two streams. That would be a silly grift now, wouldn't it, if I did that? But there are no dog cams during this. We're just going through a straight news thing here. We're pounding through these as quickly as we can. Dog cam will be a thing during our Travis Rudolph trial stream watch here, starting in about 33 minutes. So who's up next? Whew. 2 down, 8 to go. This is a pretty short one. This right here is Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, the armor in the Rust shooting, which killed Helena Hutchins and injured he was the assistant director. I can't remember exactly what his job was, but yeah, she was the armor in charge when Alec Baldwin pulled the trigger and blasted Helena Hutchins and the director. So why is she in the news? What's her story? Well, we know we got one plea deal out of it, and we know that Alec Baldwin, all of the charges were dismissed against him. His deal for dismissing the charges was, somebody tampered with the gun, and there's a lot of money, and he's a big star and all this other stuff. But one of the main arguments they were making was that somehow this weapon had been tampered with before the shooting. And for whatever reason, the folks in New Mexico said, it sounds good to me. Let's dismiss all the charges. Well, based on that, Hannah Gutierrez-Reed wants her charges dismissed as well. All charges have been dropped against Alec Baldwin over the fatal shooting of a Rust cinematographer Helena Hutchins in October 2021, and a resurrected version. Phrasing. We don't have a resurrected version of Helena Hutchins, do we? And a resurrected version of the film has almost been completed filming in Montana, but the legal battle could be far from over. As Baldwin is off the hook for now, the person who is responsible for the guns on the Rust set is trying to have the involuntary manslaughter charges still pending against her dismissed by the New Mexico judge, due in no small part to an allegedly incompetent Santa Fe District Attorney's Office and an allegedly flawed case. Let's embiggen this further. They directed a sloppy investigation in which key evidence was destroyed, meaning the gun. The FBI tried so hard to get it to do what Alec Baldwin alleged that it did. They tried so hard to get it to do that they actually ended up destroying the weapon. So the key evidence was destroyed, made overly aggressive charging decisions, including an elementary constitutional mistake, and undertook road shows to disparage Reed and to promote her own personal brands. Yeah, the original charges included a weapons enhancement that was not even a law at the time the shooting occurred. So they charged them with something that they constitutionally could not charge them with. Lawyers for the former Rust armor Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, charged of District Attorney Mary Carmack Altwies, and former Special Prosecutor Andrea Reeb in a motion to dismiss filed today. Read it here. Because the prosecution was motivated by personal interests, not the facts or the law, it was shaped with the goal of prevailing in the court of public opinion, not a jury trial. Attorney Jason Bowles and Todd Bullion added in the damning 33-page filing. As a result, coroners were cut, and the prosecution team committed other due process and ethical violations. Following the release of an FBI-assisted investigation by the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office last November, Baldwin and Reed in January were formally charged by prosecutors with 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter in Hutchins' death. Inching towards a much-delayed preliminary examination, aka mini-trial this summer, Reed is looking at a maximum of 18 months behind bars and around $5,000 in fines if a jury eventually delivers a guilty verdict on the current charges. She has pled not guilty. Now, her Her lawyers lay out a litany of failures, face plants, and GOP political maneuvering that found the local DA clearly out of her depth. Add to the fact the gun that Baldwin was holding during a Rust rehearsal that killed Hutchins and wounded director Joel Souza has been damaged after testing by the FBI. The whole thing is a mess. And now Special Prosecutor Carrie Morrissey and Jason Lewis, who joined the case in late March, made pretty clear last month when charges against the Oscar-nominated actor were dropped. So yeah, they talk about all of these things here. Then maybe it's not whether with their April 20th pledge that Baldwin is not absolved in this matter and charges may be refiled. Yeah, what do you think the odds of that happening? The odds of them refiling charges against Alec Baldwin? Don't bet on that one. Whether Judge Sommer decides to dismiss the charges against Reed or consider lesser sanctions, as today's filing offers as an alternative, Rust looks likely to still be in the courts for some time, or another for many months to come. In some form or another for many months to come. So that's where we stand with her. Hannah Gutierrez-Reed sort of relying, once Alec Baldwin filed his motion and made all of these arguments about the evidence and specifically the gun, she's saying, hey, I want that same thing myself, apparently. So she's relying on that argument, saying, all right, why you dismissed the charges against him, so why don't you just charge them against me as well? Stand by for more updates as the summer goes. All right. Our next story, we are just moving right along here. I doubt we're going to get through all these, but we are going to try, dang it. I may have to bump back the start of the Travis Rudolph trial here just a little bit. Our next guy, who's the next guy? Our next person. Where are we at here? Oh. This is Alec Baldwin. If you don't know who Alec Baldwin is, that's probably, consider yourself better for that. We just talked about Hannah Gutierrez-Reed. Now we're talking about Alec Baldwin. He's had these cases dismissed against him. He no longer has any criminal charges against him in relation to the Rust shooting. So why is he here? Why are we talking about him? We're just talking about Alec Baldwin because he's a piece of shit. He's human garbage. That's why we're just talking about him. Because he can't keep out of his own damn way. Alec Baldwin called a female server a peasant as she walked away after running after a run-in at the NYC gala as she brand star bitter and claims he became agitated as she tried to do her job. This is not a long time ago. This is 23 May. This is 1 week ago. Alec Baldwin allegedly called a female server a peasant as she walked away from him following a run-in in Thursday night's Pan American literary gala in New York City. Last week, Page Six reported the actor 65, who made his return to the red carpet after all charges were dropped against him for accidentally shooting and killing cinematographer Helena Hutchins on the set of Rust, became frustrated when the server began delivering meals to a table while he was on his feet chatting. The hell you say? Now, the female server has made fresh allegations to the publication about the actor's conduct during the night, claiming he was patronizing and very agitated as she attempted to do her job. She said, I'm a sweep leader, which means I basically tell the waiters when to put down the plates, and we have to do it in a certain order. I was going to feed the head of the table, but that's who he was talking to. So I go up to him and I say, I'm sorry, sir, but we're going to have servers walking through the tables here in a minute. Well, how did he respond to that? She claims Baldwin patronizingly asked, so when is a good time to talk to my friends? A reaction she did not expect, and he became very agitated before saying, do I have to explain it to you? She said she did not want the situation to escalate, so simply responded that he did not need to explain it, to which she claims he responded, well, then step aside. The server added afterwards, many of my coworkers came up to me and said, do you know what he said while you were walking away? I didn't catch it because I was focused on my work, but apparently he was calling me a peasant and was clearly mad that I had told him kindly, excuse me. Branding the star bitter, she said other stars, including Colin Yost, were polite towards her. She added that she wasn't afraid of getting into trouble over the incident, saying, what could he say? I approached him nicely. I was basically doing my job. DailyMail.com has contacted Representative Alec Baldwin for comment. This comes after a source told the publication last week that Baldwin allegedly yelled at the female server, leaving her shocked and upset. The actor was said to have become frustrated when the server began delivering meals to a table while he was on his feet, chatting with a fellow attendee. Yeah, a source told the publication the incident unfolded when Baldwin stood to chat with someone a couple of minutes before the line of servers come all at once to deliver the meals. The server, said to be in her late 20s or early 30s, was allegedly stuck behind the actor as he was chatting, with the sources saying then, when she could pass, she started putting plates on the table. I guess he didn't like it, and she did that with him standing there. The actors then said to have started scolding her, with visibly the upset server overheard telling someone, I don't know why he yelled at me. And this just kind of goes on to talk more about the Rust shooting, but that just lets you know what a piece of human garbage Alec Baldwin really is. Anyone, you want to see the measure of a man, you want to take the measure of a person's character, see how they treat waitresses, waiters, and other people in the service industry. I don't like Alec Baldwin. Let's see if he can stay out of his own way long enough not to shoot someone else, not to see if he can get in trouble. Stay out of the news, go underground. Shoot. Well, speaking of shoot, bad segue. Our next story is one we have not talked about really since it happened. Maybe he called her a pheasant. That would be even weirder. That would be even weirder if he called her a pheasant. All right. This man here who has had his brakes beaten off of him. This man got his brakes beaten off of him. If you may recall, you may remember him. Let's talk about him. This bruised, bloodied, and cut man is Anderson Lee Aldrich. You may remember him because he shot up an LGBTQ plus club in Colorado, killed a bunch of people, wounded an incredible number of people. He is now facing more charges than he originally faced, and the case is starting to move along now. So we're going to look at a little update on where this case stands. Right now, the preliminary hearing, this was from February 24th. The preliminary hearing for Anderson Lee Aldrich began Wednesday, February 22nd, currently facing 323 charges for the alleged involvement in the Club Q shooting. Aldrich allegedly was the shooter on the night of November 19th, 2022 at Club Q. He's accused of using an AR-15 style rifle to open fire inside the club, killing 5 people, injuring 17 others. He was originally charged with 305 counts, including assault, bias-motivated crimes, and attempted murder. Later, the charges were added. 12 additional charges, bring up to now 327. 6 additional charges have been added, bringing the total charges Aldrich faces to 323. The preliminary hearing is slated for 3 days, beginning in the morning. It's expected to run until Friday. It did. Over the next few days, evidence will be, and what they've done here is they've updated this. So this tells you what happened. It's okay, we'll do this, doing that, and then they just kind of go. So follow through that. This is El Paso County, Colorado. For those who want to watch the hearing on live stream is available. Not now because it's way in the past. The prosecution began the preliminary hearing promptly at 8:30 a.m. on Wednesday. Prosecuting attorneys for the people of Colorado versus Anderson Lee Aldrich were led by 4th Judicial District Attorney Michael Allen. Prosecution called Colorado Springs Police Officer Connor Wallach forward to the stand as the first testimony of the preliminary hearings got underway. Wallach was the first officer at the scene of the shooting on November 9th, 2022. Wallach testified that he and 2 other officers first arrived at the scene within 2 minutes of the shooting. They get there, and it goes through the litany of things that he noted 3 AR-style magazines. This is the stuff that they saw inside here after everything was over. A grenade-type looking device. It was not determined if it was an explosive device. Second witness came up to the stand, and again, one of the lead detectives talks about what he did on the stand, and then it goes through all of this, and as this unfolds, we learn that apparently he has identified himself as non-binary. He's non-binary. He has a thing apparently against the LGBT community, which is sort of weird. And now there's other additional evidence that he may have been a neo-Nazi, a non-binary LGBTQ plus hating neo-Nazi is apparently what he is. All kinds of strangeness with this, but it's moving forward as we see here from the court docket. Most recently, There was supposed to be a hearing today, I believe. I believe it was today. But as you can see here, on the 19th and the 22nd, there were motions to continue the arraignment. He was supposed to be arraigned, and that's where you appear before the judge and you you're guilty, you plead guilty, no guilty, or you remain silent, or you stand moot, as they say. But this motion was unopposed, it was accepted, and the arraignment has been postponed. Following that, there was a request for a court order permitting Mr. Aldrich to wear civilian clothes at his arraignment. So take that for what it's worth. But if we look at the arraignment, it's kind of, the motion to continue or postpone the arraignment. This is the people's unopposed motion. They've already filed the motion. This is the response from the prosecution. The people seek leave of this court to postpone the currently scheduled arraignment in the above captioned case from May 30th, 2022 to a time of the court's next soonest evidence as grounds. Therefore, the people would note that in light of the substantive legal issues raised at the last court appearance, both sides would benefit from a brief additional set-over. So this is both sides agreeing to postpone this a little bit. The people have been in contact with the victims in this case, and although there is certainly a near unanimous sentiment for the most expedient determination of case-related issues, the necessity of this brief delay is generally understood. Wherefore, the people respectfully request this court to continue the arraignment for a brief time, not to exceed 30 days, if within the power of the court. Okay, I do have to correct myself there. This was the people's motion. The state made this motion, and it was not objected to by the defense. And the court said, I certify on the 19th of May, 2023, a true and copy of the people's unopposed motion was served via Colorado courts. So everything was served. And then at the end of the day, the judge postponed this to June 26th. So the arraignment will take place on June 26th as the matter stands now. So stay tuned. That's almost 1 month from now. Wolf Rem says, not strange, actually. It has come out that the TQ plus group is bullying the LGB group as well. Yeah. Pudding Way is going to get some hair did. We'll come back and watch as we go through the Travis Rudolph trial coming up here. I got to make a decision whether to bump that back a few minutes or not. Let's see. We got 4 cases to get through. I don't want to bump it back though. Oh, stress. Let's get through one more and then I will make the decision. Maybe we'll bump it back 15 minutes. I don't know. All right, now the next one we're going to look at. This is one that dropped off the radar very suddenly. Who are we looking at now? This woman here is Jessy Kurczewski. Who is Jessy Kurczewski? Well, she is on trial in Wisconsin in front of Judge Darrow. Judge Darrow is Brooks's lawyer. No, she was definitely not Brooks's lawyer. Brooks didn't have a lawyer. It was not Darrell Brooks's lawyer. She was the judge presiding over the Darrell Brooks trial. And she is also presiding over the Kurczewski trial. So she has been charged with first-degree intentional homicide, theft of movable property greater than $100,000, and theft of movable property greater than $2,000, greater than $10,000, but less than $100,000. Who is she, you may ask? You may remember her as the eye drop murder suspect. Apparently, she was lacing a woman in her care drinks with Visine, and was taking her out that way. Poisoned her allegedly with putting Visine in her drinks, or even just forcing her to drink a straight up Visine. And in addition to allegedly murdering her, she allegedly over several different times stole property and other assets from this woman. So she is coming up. Her trial was scheduled to start, as we can see here, on October 23rd, 2023 at 8 a.m. And this has been slated to go for 6 weeks. This is supposed to be a long, 12-person jury trial. 6 weeks have been set aside for this trial. There's really nothing else to talk about in relation to this case. That's just a very, very quick update. It's still going. The trial date has now been set. There'll be motions that I guess get filed between now and trial time. We'll keep monitoring that to see what happens. But for right now, the big update in that trial is she has finally been assigned a court date, which will be October. We're not doing too bad here. I think we can bump this back 15 minutes and be in good shape. We'll see. Let's do one more and then I'll decide. All right. Let's see. This woman here. Leilani Simon. This is Leilani Simon, who is either the most misunderstood woman on planet Earth or perhaps the most evil. Who is she? If you may recall, she has been charged with very bad things. A mother accused of killing her toddler and dumping his body in a dumpster at a Savannah mobile home park was arraigned Thursday morning. You may remember her. This is the video we talked about. This is the case we talked about and showed the video of the people literally raking through the landfill trying to find this woman's toddler. She's saying she had nothing to do with it, accusing people of it being a witch hunt. Her mother is sitting right next to her the whole time, crying, and they're begging for the safe return all the while. She allegedly knew this baby was dead. Dressed in a floral top, black slacks, and face mask, Leilani Simon, 23, was joined by a team of 3 defense attorneys. This is her son. Simon faces 19 counts, including malice murder, felony murder, and concealing the death of another in the October 22 death of 20-month-old son Quentin. When escorted into the courtroom, Simon was cuffed and stared directly at a news camera that was set up as she walked to the defense table. The hearing began shortly after 9 when Judge Tammy Stokes ruling that cameras wouldn't be allowed to film Thursday's hearing despite objections from the state and defense. After issuing the ruling, the judge heard arguments for bond. Simon's attorney argued that she should be released because she's from Savannah, stayed in town when she was still considered a person of interest, and because there's a Department of Family and Children's Services case plan in place. Assistant Public Defender Caitlin Walker said that it was Simon's hope to reunite with her other 2 children, a 9-month-old girl and a 4-year-old boy. The state responded with a 9-page pre-filed response arguing against Simon's release. Ultimately, Judge Stokes denied bond, saying that Simon was still considered a flight risk. Leilani Simon waived her right to a formal reading of the charges against her and pleaded not guilty. Quentin Simon reported missing from his Buckhalter Road home on October 5th, 2022. Roughly 6 weeks later, his remains were discovered at a landfill. Noticeably absent from today's hearing was Simon's mother, who appeared before Judge Stokes during a hearing on Friday to turn over several notebooks and writings belonging to her daughter. Her defense team is trying to have the murder charges thrown out, saying in a filing Monday that a grand jury was not presented with enough information to make an informed decision. They're also trying to quash 4 false statement counts. A hearing will be scheduled later. So that's where we stand there. She has been held without bond. She's been denied bond, and she's going to stay in jail until this happens, until the trial. And gotta say, this is a hard one to say, keep an open mind about. But that's a rough one. And if we want, let's. Oh, I'm debating whether or not to do this. All right. Let's watch the it's 7 minutes long. This is the arraignment hearing. Let's see.
Turn to the issue of bond. Mr. Dean, I have received your request for restriction of certain information. The court has reviewed it. if there's anything you'd like to say. Well, first is the defense's motion. Ms. Walker.
Your Honor, just briefly, of course, Ms. Simon was born and raised here locally. She is 23 years old. Speaking to the statutory factors, just briefly, Your Honor, we would say to the court that she is not flagrant, one, because she lives here, two, because throughout this investigation, she remained here locally, knowing that she was a person of interest in this investigation.
Yeah, I disagree.
Presently under a defense case plan, which I will not get into the details of, other than to say that she has every incentive to remain in this county pursuant to that plan in order to reunite with the children, and certainly that would be her hope. Your Honor, she is also not a threat or a danger to an individual or a community because as a result of that case plan, she will be monitored and supervised at a very intense level by people who have a high level of skill to do so. So concerns that the court may have based on the allegations in this indictment should be factored in related to that case plan, Judge, and that she's not at risk of committing felony because she has no felony history and has reviewed in some charges for Your Honor. And finally, that there's no evidence that she would have the ability or desire to intimidate any potential witnesses. Simply being related to some of the witnesses in this case does not rise to the level of that concern, Your Honor. And so for all of those reasons, we would be asking the court to adopt essentially what the DFAC's case plan is. We'd be happy to provide a copy of that to the court if the court is so inclined to grant bonds so that the court could conform its order to the DFAC's case plan. It's our position that there are provisions therein such as drug treatment, et cetera, which will support her while she would be on the outside. Furthermore, Judge, that we have a location for her to live that is safe, is out of county. And as the court knows, this has been a very highly investigated and focused upon case in media and social media. And so we would not provide that address to the court for fear about Ms. Simon's safety. As the court knows, she has been harassed by various members of the public who knew her prior address. And so we're very concerned about her safety should she be released. And we'd be happy to provide that to the court, but certainly not in a court.
Thank you, Ms. Walker.
Thank you.
Mr. Dean.
Your Honor, as the court has referenced yesterday afternoon, I emailed the court the state's 9-page response to petition for bond, which I then filed with the court and served on the defense this morning. They were, of course, copied on the email version yesterday. In that filing, which will be restricted because it contains sensitive information that ought not be released, I believe that the state has both preemptively responded pretty conclusively to some of the arguments just articulated by counsel, and also made certain other factual and legal arguments about the defendant's unsuitability for pretrial release in this case. And with that, I will rest on the written filing.
All right, thank you. In consideration of the information that's been presented from the defense and from the state, the court will deny bond based on the risk that she would commit a felony while on bond and there's risk of flight as well. So with that, bond is denied.
Absolutely not. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, let's move into arraignment at this point. You have,
Okay, now let's go to the, are we guilty or not guilty?
And Your Honor, if we may, we'll come to the podium, but our intention today is to ask, rather than for arraignment, because we believe there's, thank you, some conflict in the case law as to whether or not entering arraignment today would waive the demurrers that she's filed. Of course, the court is aware we filed 2 demurrers. One is a special demurrer as to counts 1, 2, 3 of this indictment, and a general demurrer as to counts 10, 12, 14, and 17. So what we'll be asking for today is for the court to simply set us down for a motion date where we can address those issues with the indictment, and then we would move forward with arraignment on that date, of course, so inclined.
court will do that. Motions hearings will be scheduled soon, and we'll set aside time to address the several issues that as well as other motions as well.
Thank you.
Okay. Turning now to arraignment. Ms. Walker, does your client waive formal reading of the indictment?
Well, Judge, I think if we may be doing that at that motion here, we can do it all together. We're just concerned about waiving for arguments as to the mirrors that we've already filed. So if we could move forward with the red.
Okay, so she doesn't want all 19 charges against her read in court.
What the court is willing to do is preserve your, right to demur at this point. I would like to move forward with it
Okay,
right now.
absolutely, Your Honor. And yes, so we would waive formal reading of the indictment. And Ms. Simon would be entering her plea of not guilty on the case and demanding a jury trial, but of course we have motions hearings to come.
Very, very true.
Well, that's really all we need for that. She doesn't get a bond. She's still considered a flight risk. And that was her lawyer entering a not guilty plea on her behalf. We're going to be starting the Travis Rudolph trial 15 minutes late. We can get through these last few in the next 15 minutes. Again, that's courtroom audio sucks. They don't do it for us. They do it for themselves. And that's the best we could do with the audio. I'm quite glad she's not getting out on bail. But anyway, we'll deal with that when it happens, when that trial happens. Can't really say that I have much care for her. All right. We got a favorite coming up, a court favorite. Sarah Boone's case is moving forward slowly but surely. Remember, she was scheduled for trial. The trial was postponed. They talked about finding a battered spouse expert. They're having problems getting one, apparently, which is delaying things a little bit. But there are other things going on here. There's other developments taking place. One of these is she's writing letters again. She's very, very well known for writing letters, and eventually we're going to be talking about the massive amount of handwritten letters she's sending to the judge and everybody else in these cases. But accused suitcase murderess Sarah Boone has continued to write letters to the judge overseeing her case, with each letter getting more hostile. I can't remember even this is like lawyer 7 or something she's gone through. Because she has problems with all these lawyers. She has problems with all the judges. She keeps writing these motions, writing these letters, complaining about everything. She's still at it, and she's becoming increasingly more hostile. The Florida woman stands accused of killing her then boyfriend, Jorge Torres Jr., or as some call him, George, by suffocating him inside a suitcase during a night of drinking in February 2020. Boone called her case a witch hunt. Well, maybe they are hunting the witch, aren't they? And criticized the media for calling her a murderer while collecting millions of views on videos and articles. I'm calling her the alleged murderer. The state still has to prove that we've seen the videos, so it's probably not going to be too difficult for them to prove, but they still have to prove that she committed the murder. I wish I was getting millions of views. The Law and Crime Network Sierra Gillespie breaks down the latest series of letters written by Boone. Stay up to date with Law and Crime Network. Watch Law and Crime, blah, 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 blah. Here is the breakdown.
Look inside the mind of Sarah Boone, the woman accused of murdering her boyfriend by zipping him up into a suitcase. In another series of handwritten letters sent from jail, Boone calls out her defense attorney, arguing she hasn't heard from him in months as her case inches closer to trial. She also sends a message to the presiding judge saying, quote, "My case has turned into an unnecessary witch hunt," and later asks, quote, "What's your cut?"
For everything you've done to me. For everything you've done to me.
This is honestly some of the most horrific video I've ever seen. This is the video of her husband in this suitcase pleading for his life, and she is talking shit to him. And this is the cut down version where he doesn't get all these, so this is how you made me feel. And the end of this, they didn't show the end of this, but the end of this is horrific to me.
Fuck you.
Sarah.
Fuck you.
Laughing.
Sarah.
Stupid. Sarah. That's my name. Don't wear it up.
Florida prosecutors say the 44.
And at the end of that video, I think, is one of the worst. It's something you couldn't even have in a horror movie. At the end of that video, everything goes quiet, and she just sits there, and you can hear her go, shh. And the video cuts off. It's creepy.
4-year-old murdered her boyfriend, 42-year-old Jorge Torres Jr., in February 2020 by putting him in a suitcase and leaving him there to die. At the time, Boone told investigators she and Torres had been drinking and playing a game of hide and seek. After that, Boone says she went to sleep and woke up hours later when her phone rang. That's when she says she found Torres unresponsive. Officials say Torres was zipped inside the suitcase for hours. Shocking cell phone video was later released showing Boone speaking to Torres while he was inside that suitcase. As Long Crime Network previously reported, Boone sent multiple handwritten letters to her court-appointed defense attorney, Frank Binkowitz, asking for a clearer path of communication. In a story Long Crime Network posted in March, Boone wrote, quote, "I've exhausted my resources and am again just sitting here waiting for you to contact me in whatever way you are able and as soon as possible, please." At the time, we noted the letter was seemingly missing a sentence or possibly even pages. In one of Boone's most recent letters, dated April 6th, she seemingly references the missing pages and a report, writing in part, quote, "The enclosed letter I sent, 3/22/23, was scanned incorrectly on the clerk's website. Only the first and third page, so I am resending with nothing on the backs to avoid confusion, and were missed previously. Thank you for reading my entire letter and uploading correctly for all the world to read. Also critique and judge wrongly and incorrectly as usual. Ignorance is bliss." Boone goes on to write, quote, "I wonder what platform of popularity I will be featured on next, and how much wasted time, effort, and thought will be put into mutating and grossly exaggerating my case information, racketeered to the World Wide Web. SMH or shaking my head." She ends that portion of the letter saying, "Shout out to my supporters," with a heart
Shout
drawn
out
next
to
it.
my
She sends a letter,
supporters.
hopeful no matter what. In Boone's most recent letter, dated May 15th, she addresses both the case's judge, Wayne C. Wooten, and attorney Frank Binkowitz. She writes to Judge Wooten in part, quote, "My truth needs to be heard, and it is my right. Do not give me rights expecting me not to fully utilize them. I voted for the president and governor while here in jail, and stop violating what I've been trying to utilize or less the value of my capabilities and opportunities. I am not apologetic in any way for being an observant, hardworking, above average, non-stereotypical inmate. I can only imagine sadly how others not as outspoken as myself have been and are being mistreated, overlooked, and dehumanized." She writes in all caps, "Get it together." She continues, quote, "When I've tried to voice my legitimate concerns to you in the courtroom, 5 times total in 3.3 years, and in my letters to, quote, save it for my next attorney if told anything at all. Do tell your honor, which attorney?" According to the letter, Boone's representation has switched 6 times for both irreconcilable differences between the attorney and client and conflicts of interest. In this portion of the letter, she writes out a list of statistics for Judge Wooten, pointing out court-appointed attorney Frank Binkowitz has answered 0 of her phone calls over more than 7,000 hours of representation. Boone later writes, quote, "Are you allowing/enabling my constitutional rights to be continuously violated?" Boone then writes out what she calls a history lesson for everyone, referencing amendments she feels are appropriate to highlight. She continues, quote, "Why are you allowing numerous case safety and protection elements to be breached, violated, manipulated? Why has a gag order never been implemented? My case has turned into an unnecessary witch hunt from the innumerable violations of my case details being leaked and racketeering illegally in exchange for website hits, viewer ratings, etc. in exchange for," and she writes 3 money symbols. "What is your cut, Your Honor?"
Yeah, that's...
It's not even about the suitcase anymore. My case is now a global event with the video receiving over 3 million hits depending on the website, in turn making me realize that's over 3 million less unprejudiced, unbiased, non-discriminatory, fair jurors I will have access to on my case. How is that going to work? Now what? Boone then addresses Bankowitz, saying their last meeting was February 15th. She writes to Bankowitz in part, quote, "Please see from my perspective the botched, eye-rolling experience I'm going through still and how I believe anyone would act or do if in my slides doing the same. What would you do? Do not fault me in trying to make the best, most successful outcome possible for myself in every aspect in the convoluted predicament I am in and have been in over the last 3.3 years. I would rather be called a narcissist, pain in the explicative, arrogant, strange, or whatever else anyone wants to waste their time to think of. Just don't call me a murderer, which I am not. No one knows me except for the ludicrous insanity that's been made up, mocked, edited, and spewed all over the internet. It's not me." Boone is due back in court on July 11th for a pretrial hearing. Right now, her case is expected to go to trial on July 24th. Reporting for Long Crime Network, I'm Sierra Gillespie.
All right. Well, that's where we sit with Sarah Boone. She really should be exercising that right to remain silent. It's not looking good for her. This is not the strategy she wants to be, but she hasn't shown herself to be the most reasonable of people. Well, we're here at the end. We didn't get to the last two. So what I will do is probably do a separate little bit tomorrow on these two cases, or Friday. One of them is Bradley Yohn, who is a sovereign citizen whose trial may unfortunately end up being even worse than the Darrell Brooks trial. He's in Illinois. All of his charges, most of his charges stem from carjacking, assaulting, and raping a woman in her 80s. He and a girl. It's a pretty horrific case. He's doing the sovereign citizen thing, filing motions, delay. He was charged and convicted with some in-prison events that took place, which we'll talk about. The other thing I wanted to talk about, which you didn't get time to, so I at some point between now and over the weekend, I will get to this story in one way or the other. It's a story that I'm creating. In the Zachariah Anderson case, we have this guy here, Dr. G. He's a psychologist and licensed body language expert. He did this breakdown of this body language analysis of Zachariah Anderson during the sentencing hearing. I'm going to break this down. I've got comments. I thought the guy was clueless. Not only is he pimping a voodoo science that has literally no basis in scientific fact, that is not allowed to be used in court to prove guilt or innocence. This voodoo science that he's really, that not only is it that, but he clearly has no idea the background of the case, clearly has no idea of the surroundings and what's going on at the time he's talking about. Well, and if he does, he's being dishonest. So we're going to break down this video separately. We'll go through it bit by bit. I have to challenge him on almost everything he says in this 13-minute and 25-second video. So we'll get to that at some point during the weekend. All right, what we're going to do now, thank you everybody for joining me for this little news breakdown. I had to catch up on that. We're going to go on over to the Travis Rudolph trial. I'm going to break. I have to get that set up, so it'll take a few minutes. Go on over there. It should automatically feed you over to that stream. If not, go back over to my page, Legal Vices, find that link and go over there live. Let everybody know I'll be there within the next 5 minutes. Everybody take care. We'll catch you over there for the Travis Anderson. Why did I say Travis Anderson? The Travis Rudolph trial. See you in a bit. Larax out. Peace.